Mouse cream motors have left the station. It's not my fault for coming in all hot and ready. Actually, I wasn't hot and ready.
I'm sorry you have dreams about mice eating your ice cream.
I really could go for some ice cream.
With mice in it?
Yeah, with mice in it. That's the only way to eat it.
Mice cream is nice cream.
Ooh, mice cream. I like the ring to that.
Stop making mice cream a thing. It will never be a thing.
Your mice cream shouldn't be ringing, though. Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
We are the Rewinders podcast, rewinding and rebooting movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we screamed into the void of space, and no one heard us. With Alien.
Much like a lot of our podcasts.
Dan, that's pessimistic.
We don't need that kind of negativity here.
There's that one person over there.
They have that really nice hat.
Yeah. Good hat, guy.
I have too much hair. I can't wear my hat anymore.
Wow, brag.
So, one downside. Anyway.
Look at me and all my hair. I can't wear hats. Brag.
So I'm gonna preface something with this episode. I don't think I've ever seen the entirety of Alien.
I've heard that from so many people.
How interesting.
I remember a lot of things happening, and I'm pretty sure they were in Alien. It was things that I'm thinking of were in Aliens.
Yeah, almost everybody has seen Aliens. Almost nobody I know who says they're huge fans of Alien have actually seen Alien.
I don't know if I've seen Aliens.
What?
Give me a quick lowdown of that one.
James Cameron walked into
Space
a pitch
Marines.
meeting, literally wrote S after Alien, and they greenlit the movie.
So it's the one with the mother queen alien.
Yes, it is the Queen Alien. It's the power loader. It's all that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is an action movie. This is a sci-fi horror movie.
Correct.
Yeah.
Two wildly different things, but they fit together so well, like peanut butter and chocolate. I don't know.
I was going to say, to the benefit of the James Cameron version, they did take enough of the atmosphere from this one and reuse it in theirs.
Yes.
To give it that creepy factor.
Yes, it's
You
when
mean
you
spaceships?
like crazy planets with shitty atmosphere and crap like that. I mean, just the foreboding sense of just all these like creepy ass corridors and metal hallways versus taking aliens out of that environment and tossing them into like clean spaceships and crap like that. Like it just doesn't work out so well. At least for me, it doesn't work well. It's like plucking a Tyrannosaurus Rex out of Jurassic Park and plopping it onto a space station.
But the Nostromo was fairly clean in the area where everyone was basically living. It was the underbelly where the mechanics were, where all the scary parts happened.
Indeed.
And that's why they don't get paid enough.
And it's a classist system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it kind of was.
Well, now you get a feeling that it's a classist system, and you're led to believe that, yeah, maybe they're underpaid. However, you don't know how much they get paid, and pretty much everyone who isn't an owner of something always says they don't get paid enough.
Well, in the case of Parker and Brett, apparently they don't get paid enough.
Correct.
Indeed.
I like their. It's going to take 17 hours to fix the ship, and Parker's just like, it'll take us 25.
Yeah, right.
Unions.
I don't want to spoil too many things getting out of it, but yeah, I love that scene where they turn off the vents after Ripley walks away too. But anyways. So getting right out of the gates with this one, it sounds like we all kind of have different backgrounds with this movie.
Like, I remember portions of this movie, but there are definitely scenes in here that I'm just like, I don't remember any of this happening. Now, also prefacing what I was prefacing, it has been a very long time since I've sat down and watched Alien. Like, 10 plus years, at least.
Yeah.
I think the last time I hauled this out was when I got the Blu-ray, and that would have been 2011 or so.
I bought the Blu-ray anthology just recently and did not. It was up until just recently still sealed. Katie had never seen this movie either, and it was a good thing that I decided to not watch this before going to bed. Because my imagination would have run wild. I just got up early and watched it before we recorded.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Except when you're trying to eat breakfast and things are jumping off the screen at you. Yeah, that's Not good.
It's fine.
I didn't make a mess. I didn't lose a bunch of hash browns. It's fine.
Ken, what about you?
Me? Okay, so I first watched the Masterpiece when it came out when I was working at a video store in 2006, 2007 called Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
The shittiest of the shitty remakes.
I watched that movie and I said,
Oh no.
why are people watching these movies? What's so big about this? I guess I kind of get it, but I don't know. And then somebody's like, go back and watch the original. I think you'll get it. So I waited a while and I watched the original. I was like, oh crap, this is so good. Actually, I did some research, found out that Alien was the first one, not Aliens. And so I was like, oh yeah, I finally watched Alien to somebody, and they're like, oh, you like that pallet loader scene? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like, you watch Aliens, right? I'm like, no, there was no.
It's so crazy how everybody's memory just immediately snaps back to Aliens versus Alien. It's nuts.
Yeah, and this was probably 2008, 2009 when I watched both of those movies then, because I heard about a pallet loader and a queen and had to watch that one too. Mm-hmm. That's probably about the last time I watched any of these movies.
In this movie, Ripley is not nearly the badass that she is in various other movies.
All humble beginnings, Dan.
Yes, this is the seed in which her badassery grows from.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, she tried her damn hardest to uphold scientific standards by not opening that damn airlock. That was badass, her saying no to the captain of the ship and saying, fuck you, I'm following protocol.
Yup. Protocol dictates that we're not bringing this on the ship. Well, all the people except for what's her name, the other chick that really didn't do anything. She screams a lot and cries.
Lambert.
Yes.
Lambert. So that is a question I have to get out of the way right away. Did you guys watch theatrical or director's cut? Because there's two key differences between the movies that we're gonna have to know when we go and discuss this.
I watched whatever was on Prime.
So you go ahead and tell me the differences.
Okay, I watched director's cut, or I always watch director's cut because I prefer it, but I watched the theatrical cut this time just to reacquaint myself with it. The theatrical cut is missing the scene where Lambert goes off on Ripley outside of the medical bay. In the theatrical cut, they're all solemn about Kane's predicament, and then they all just go on their way. Whereas in the director's cut, Lambert slaps Ripley, calls her a bitch, I think.
Oh, yep, I watched theatrical.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Dallas shouts at her about her decision, and she said, even when you're going against protocol, and he's like, even what, you're goddamn right, he like shouts at her. So everybody basically goes off on Ripley at that scene. But then the other key scene that they added in for the director's cut contradicts the life cycle of the aliens coming up in the next movies. So that got taken out for a reason. But I always remember that scene, so when I go to watch this movie and it wasn't in it last night, I was like, wait, she's boarding the lifeboat already. And then I had to think about it, and I go back. So it's the scene where she finds Dallas and she finds Brett cocooned up in the basement, or not the basement, but the lower decks, where Dallas is basically cocooned, and he just whispers, kill me, and she torches the whole place down. In this movie, Ridley didn't really know where he was going to go with the whole alien life cycle, so you can see they're kind of turning into eggs. So in this movie, it kind of paints a picture that after the alien cocoons you, you become the egg. Because you can see Brett half egg, half human.
That scene doesn't happen at all in the that whole cocoon. There's no cocoon
scene.
Yeah,
it's completely cut. It's completely cut from the theatrical. Because then when you get to Aliens, then you understand the life cycle. It's egg hatches from the alien queen. She lays them. Egg hatches, facehugger attaches to something, plants the chestburster in, chestburster bursts out and becomes a xenomorph. Done. Xenomorphs go around like bees, collecting living organisms, bringing them back to the queen, basically making them additional hosts for more facehuggers to hatch and, continue the cycle. Whereas this one, it was more body horror, where the humans are actually becoming the eggs themselves. So that's why that was cut out. But sorry to derail things so much, I just had to get that out of the way, because I need to know which one we're talking about.
Yeah, you definitely do not get that from the theatrical.
No.
I just saw him slumped over in the theatrical.
Yeah, and that's the bigger difference between the two too. Because even taking the egg scene out of the picture, the other scene is extremely important because it derails the character development. Well, actually, I wouldn't say derail. It just takes it down a different avenue right off the bat. Because in the theatrical cut, you get the sense that Ripley is still respected, even though she has to make hard decisions, and it makes her. You kind of get the sense that she's honestly the most sane person on the ship. Whereas with the director's cut, with them yelling and basically disregarding her for her decision to not open the airlock, it really kind of creates that central rift right between the characters right off the bat, and that never gets really addressed before they're all plucked one by one. So, yeah, I don't know. I just had to get that out of the way so we know which one we're talking about, because the character development portion is very important between these. But sorry.
Sure.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, there's still no character development for Lambert.
Yeah, no, she just screams a lot and gets upset, like you said.
It's a lot of characters. It's going to be hard to get them all in there.
Yeah.
Joe, do you have any early memories with this here movie?
So with the series of Alien in general, my earliest experience with the movies is Aliens, because that was like peak time for me. Was that 86? Yeah, I was all about that movie. I was right there at the cusp and enjoying every moment of it. Now, my first experience with Alien comes from one or two places. Is either from seeing a clip of the chest bursting scene, from something referencing it in talking about Aliens, like on HBO or something where they have a featurette talking about the movie, or it was from Spaceballs. One of those two places is where my first experience with Alien came from.
So many of my friends didn't understand that scene, and it makes me so sad.
Yeah, I mean, it got me to go, I don't know what this is. I should look into, and then... So I think the first time I saw it, I didn't know what it was referencing. Second time or whatever I started seeing it, it was after 86, and I totally understood what it was referencing, but it was referencing the movie before, and I was like, oh, I gotta watch that sometime, and I never did.
Well, I think the best part about it, too, is the fact that he actually freaking got Kane and Parker in that scene.
Yeah.
There's John Hurt, just sitting there in a Mel Brooks movie.
And I like oh no, not again.
Yes, exactly.
So it wasn't exactly, me watching this film. It was me being intrigued about this film by other films. So it wasn't very direct. And since the people around me as I was growing up didn't really have the want to watch the first one, I ended up never really watching it until this week.
Thinking about when I actually first watched this. So my dad he'd work out in the early mornings, and we had a treadmill. He had a hookup where he had a 15-foot long headphone cable plugged into the stereo, and the cable ran up the wall and across the ceiling and back down and hung just above the treadmill. And I think he was watching Alien while he was running on the treadmill one of those times that I had gotten up early when I was very little. Or was that Predator? I can't remember anymore. I remember coming down and starting to watch it, and he's just like, you need to leave. This movie is not for your age. And I'm like, oh, fine. And leaving.
Was there a sexual Tyrannosaurus on the TV?
I was like
if
10.
So, that was Predator.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Was there wrestlers in it?
I don't know. I don't fully remember. I just remember it might have been Predator. There was a lot of jungle.
You know what we think about jungle movies.
Oh, yeah.
Superior.
That's the stuff. It's all about foliage.
Well, the trailer is interesting.
Hey, you hold your britches, bucko.
We skipped over this whole doing the trailer first thing, following our format.
Hey, I'm the only one who hasn't said what this movie means to me, god damn it.
Well, we're out of...
You did.
I did not.
Go,
I did
whatever.
not.
Please do.
I was introduced to, I believe, Aliens before Alien. And the way I was introduced to this is, as any good kid in the 90s, toys. I received the exploding scorpion alien from KB Toy Store, not knowing anything about aliens, but my dad telling me, you'll watch it when you're old enough. But he bought me the toy regardless, because when you flick it, it explodes into 4 pieces, and I thought it was the coolest toy ever, even knowing nothing about it. Just looking at the alien itself made me excited because of the way it was shaped and how scary it was. I don't know why, but the little green scorpion facehugger type dealy thing that came with it was everywhere with me. I took that thing everywhere. So I eventually found myself watching a couple of scenes of Aliens, not really watching the whole thing. So it wasn't really until middle school-ish, maybe more so high school-ish, but it was around that time when I finally got around to seeing Alien specifically, and it pretty much changed everything about my life and impacted it in so many ways, just in terms of taste and the things that I've come to expect out of certain horror elements, things like that. So it definitely warped my perspective quite a bit after viewing that movie. So yeah, as a kid, it was mostly just toys, entertaining the idea that I would someday be able to see what this was all about.
And that toy says it's from the comic book.
It does. But aliens, they were grabbing at anything they could make just so they could make an extra toy for it.
Thanks, George Lucas.
George Lucas money. All right, so sorry to take my turn, Dan.
How dare you?
I'm just giving you crap.
Taking turns.
Okay, Dan, take us down Trailer
Okay.
Avenue then.
I had never this was a new trailer for me. Just the way that it was produced. Like, I was doing what I do with these each of these episodes is that I watch the movie and then I watch the trailer, and it really screwed things up this time watching the trailer before watching the movie, because I was trying to figure out where the first half of the trailer was like filming, and I didn't realize that it's just a chicken egg in dirt that they're cutting back and forth between for a good 30 seconds, and then they get to the meat and potatoes of the movie and they cut that all to hell. Like, that is a mishmash of continuity errors and everything all over the place. But it did make me want to watch the movie because I wanted to know what the hell I just saw.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Dan. It's very much a what the fuck trailer. It's very much a what the hell am I looking at? And then after the minute and 57 seconds, you're just sitting there scratching your head, debating, okay, do I go see this or what? Because, yeah, like you said, it's just dirt and chicken egg, and then all of a sudden, just shots of random craziness happening.
And I tried to put it into perspective of 1979 and think about what type of space movies people were used to before that.
This is one of my notes.
Star Wars. Star Wars.
Yeah, so things are not grungy, dark, and scary. And even before that, sci-fi is usually shiny, bright, hopeful, space romps. And now it's not.
This movie is 41 years old.
It really is, and it doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't. Like, outside of the the dot matrix screens, like the old terminal screens.
The computation crunching physically.
Like, outside of that, things that you could make easily disappear if they were to modernize those scenes with just a video edit, making the screen be less archaic. Like, it could be done.
Well, the motion sensor, you can't really... You'd have to do quite a bit of work to make that look more modern without reshooting.
Just an interesting side note, did you guys realize that the movie came out on the exact same day as Star Wars A New Hope, just 2 years later?
I did not know that.
Because Star Wars A New Hope came out on May 25th, 1977. Alien came out on May 25th, 1979. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, must be the time for space movies, the date for space movies.
But yeah, Joe, what you were saying is absolutely true. I mean, most sci-fi movies at the time were glorious visions of what the future might look like. This was really kind of the first step towards Ridley kind of introducing that grungy dystopian sci-fi with this, and then obviously followed up with Blade Runner. Because prior to this, everybody had been trying to make it, the future's grand and glorious and clean! I mean, even Back to the Future 2, when that comes along, I mean, that's still like a utopia version of the future outside of the alternate timeline. But yeah, I mean, this was kind of the first step into showing that, not everything always improves. Sometimes things do get crappy.
I also liked in the trailer that they made extensive use out of the anxiety sounds that are used in the movie.
The scream,
all over.
That 3-part scream that is in the trailer is used throughout the series. It's more of a siren, not a scream.
So what do you guys think? Good trailer, bad trailer?
It definitely made me want to watch the movie.
Yeah, I think maybe the first half of the trailer with just the shots between the egg and the dirt, I would dismiss that. Other than the music for this movie is one of my favorite film soundtracks of all time, so it'd be hard for me to give that up just because it's so much of the soundtrack right off the bat.
I agree, and it's made better because of the fact that I had just watched Top Gun. Oh my god, is the soundtrack for that movie absolutely awful.
Honestly, it is.
Burnout. It's the danger zone, Dan.
It's that and songs from the 50s.
Dan, have you lost that love and feeling?
I did. And it is long gone and dead and buried, and no one will ever find its body.
Hey.
Whoa.
Hey, Dan. Whoa.
Don't you dare. No. No. Both of you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Don't worry, Dan. We'll all take our shirts off and play volleyball later.
Yes. If you're lucky, we'll do a fly by your house.
Great. Excellent. I'll remember not to have coffee.
That's what I'm missing.
Well, you better have your butt ready to go, Dan.
I need more butts.
I want to see butts.
We need to focus. I totally derailed this. This is my fault.
Yeah.
I'm going to take all of the blame for this one. This one is mine.
Oh, God.
This is fine. As far as the trailer for me, it definitely made me want to watch it, but only because I had already seen it. Had I not seen the movie already, I probably would have changed or turned off the trailer very quickly, because it did the same thing that this movie did, which is take far too long to spell out the name aliens and then or alien and then display what's going on. However, it was a really cool build throughout the entirety of that trailer, which is probably more so what's going to push me to watch that. So it started off low chill, kind of creepy, to what the heck is going on. This is kind of scary type thing going on.
Now, I imagine that the trailer was more designed for a captive audience in a theater and not as a TV commercial where people could switch it or walk away from it.
Can you imagine having those sounds? Like, all those sounds, there's a lot of them in there. And they just keep on building on and on. Can you imagine having that kind of sound just forced upon you and not being able to do anything about it?
Oh, yeah, I can imagine it, Ken.
I could see that definitely being off-putting to a lot of people trying to watch this movie, or trying to watch whatever movie they're going to go see.
Well, they're not going to advertise this movie in front of, let's say, Bambi.
I was just going to say Bambi. Good
These
job,
days,
Joe.
yes. I don't remember 1979.
What family movie came out and they had trailers for some horror film?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I remember when that happened a few years back. I don't
That was
remember
just
the movie or which
recently.
horror film, but
I mean, within the last year.
it was semi-accidental.
Well, let's run a little bit through memory lane here and see what kind of movies this could have maybe played between. I mean, there was a lot of releases in 1989, but I mean...
79, my dude.
Oh, 79. Why am I thinking 89? But 79... yeah, that's a whole decade. 79, let's see. Well, we had Phantasm, Amityville Horror. We also had 1941.
Warriors, Mad Max, yep.
Salem's Lot. A lot of horror movies out that year, but then also some comedies, Meatballs and The Jerk, things like that. So,
What's 78? Do you think they'd start advertising it the year before?
Oh, Dan, this may be played before Disney's The Black Hole. Who knows?
1978. It could have shown before Watership Down.
Let's just prepare everybody. Considering all those films that it could have been advertised with, we can kind of maybe imagine what someone would have done to pitch the movie to be made. Maybe something like, gentlemen.
Yes.
We totally missed the cue.
Yes.
I don't have anything prepared, and I have no idea how I'd pitch this movie apart from...
I could totally pitch it if nobody else has something.
I got nothing.
I think
It's been a while.
Sounded like
Joe
was trying to
Oh,
start it.
Joe, did you have something, or were you just trying to poke us?
Do you want to lock arms and pitch together at the same time?
That's crazy talk. We've never done that.
A double pitch?
A double pitch.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I guess, yeah, sure.
So we'll do every other sentence.
Considering
I was going to say every other word.
Hey, that actually
That
makes
would be-
sense since, the screenplay was written by two guys. Boom, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, hello. What you got for us today?
We have a space movie pitch for you today.
Is this another Star Wars? I don't know. That didn't do very well.
No.
No, Star Wars did great. What are you talking about?
I hated it.
Oh,
It was
okay.
boring.
No, we want to do an atmospheric sci-fi horror movie.
What?
But
Yeah,
in
yeah.
space,
Yeah.
there is no atmosphere.
That's just it, though. We have the best tagline that we could possibly conceive. In space, no one can hear you scream.
Is that true, though?
Ah.
I feel...
I've never been up in space. I wouldn't know.
So it's micro atmosphere or something up there. So there's particles that you could get to vibrate, but they're so spaced out that you're not really going to do much for making sound.
Okay. But this is science fiction,
Yeah.
so we don't really have to Oh, it's fine.
Yeah,
Let's hear about this movie.
Well, I mean, you guys have seen Jaws, right? That film from 4 years ago, Steven Spielberg. The shark.
We need a bigger boat. Yeah.
Jaws 2 last year?
No, not Jaws 2. Jaws, the original Jaws. Remember how suspenseful that was? Because you go into a movie about a shark and everybody's talking about the shark, but you barely even see the shark.
I was so disappointed.
You were disappointed in not seeing that? Oh, man, because that's kind of what we were thinking, isn't that right? Just not show the creature as often and build up to when you see it to make it more terrifying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Believe me, I have my buddy who's a graphic designer. He's like 6'10", and I put him in this rubber suit. He is crazy scary looking, but only in the dark.
That's how dedicated we are. We made a rubber suit to test this theory before we actually pitched to you, gentlemen.
Yes.
That's a very good idea.
We'll need more money to make a better rubber suit. Maybe add some hoses to it or something.
Do you have some stills? We'd love to see this. Oh, that's
my
terrifying.
God.
Yes. We did reach out to a German fellow, and he draws some very provocative things. Kind of think of sci-fi penises, and we intend to make the monster look like that in a way.
We're doing a movie about giant alien penises. I don't know if I can get in on this.
I think you're thinking like a puritanical American. This is a British film.
Well, why are we making
You're
this
pitching
film?
ideas for
sent over to
an
England.
alien.
Okay,
What
gentlemen.
is this movie actually going to do?
Okay, gentlemen, maybe this will change your mind, because I feel like we're not talking on the same level here. This should be everything you need to see and what we intend to convey on film.
What?
And it's going to be perfectly visible by everybody with their headsets on. Don't worry.
For those who cannot see, I have forwarded over an image from Geiger, who is
Yes, I cannot see.
This wonderful prelude to the facehugger jamming a thing down a guy's throat.
Yeah.
So it's a black and white photo.
It's definitely German expressionism.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. German expressionism in style. It is a styled profile of a body. Does not look to be wearing a shirt. Their shoulders are resting against a rock, and their head is resting on top of said rock. And there is a face hugger with 3 limbs attached to the side of his neck, but still floating. A distended sack hanging underneath the face hugger, and a large proboscis going straight down said person's throat, from what you would presume to be its mouth. It looks like they're looking in each other's eyes, too. It's kind of romantic.
Kinda, in a
German
terribly
sort of way.
horrific sense.
But doesn't that make you want to see the movie?
Particularly. I don't... That's just really off-putting, to be honest.
Wait.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen to you, and that's kind of like the open threat we've got going in this film.
All right, let me simplify things for you, gentlemen. Space truckers. Space truckers hauling their big freight back to Earth. They get a distress call, and they go to check it out, and then nothing goes the way you expect it to. Space truckers.
Oh, why didn't you say that before? Convoy? Wait, was Convoy out yet? It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Maybe.
There you go. Space truckers. I like that.
How about more Smokey and the Bandit in space with less Smokey and more Bandit and yeah, less Smokey, because Smokey's going to be in the background a lot, and you're only going to see Smokey every once in a while.
But can mustaches grow in space?
I really hope so. Ask Dallas.
Oh, good lord. So, outside of pitch time, Smokey and the Bandit was 77. Convoy was 78.
Ooh.
Space Smokey and the Bandit Convoy was 79.
Good reference, Ken.
Mixed with some Star Wars.
Well done.
Excellent.
So all these fit the timeline.
It as a movie was something that people had not seen yet.
Yes, there's a reason why it is notorious for people running out of the theaters.
I could see this being absolutely terrifying had I not been totally desensitized to anything else violent or horrific.
Oh, for sure.
It's also really hard to go back to this one and put your blinders on, because I get very upset at a character before they even do anything in the movie, because I know what's coming.
Ash?
I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Ash? Which, this seems like an opportune time to say, rest in peace, Mr. Ian Holm, Harry Dean Stanton, and John Hurt.
Yeah.
We lost 3 of the crew of the Nostromo in the last 3 years.
Oof.
Yeah. Ian Holm as recently as this year.
Yeah.
We also lost the Alien back in 1996.
Yes, that is true.
That's a good thing we got CGI.
It's the only film the guy ever did.
Oh, really? They find a taller person to be the queen in the next movie?
Oh, it's a puppet.
Yeah, that was some good Stan Winston. That was some good Stan Winston.
It ain't real, Ken.
Ken, it was so good that's why Steven Spielberg's like, wow, that was a great alien. Make me a T-Rex full size. And then Stan Winston had to build a bigger shop.
Well, I've already made reference to one of my big notes about what I like about this movie is the fact that it's 40 years old, and you can tell where movies that came after it took design notes from.
Oh, for sure.
Because the inside of the Nostromo and the outside of the Nostromo were fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
I also love models.
Yeah. And that's, I think, my biggest note about this movie, hands down, is no matter how many times I see it, it is oozing with so many personal details. Every time I watch this movie, I find something new. Like, think about any other movie where they have to stop a countdown timer for something, and they either have to turn a key or flip a switch. This has 2 full pull-down switches in a wall, 4 individual canisters she has to screw an individual device into, raise each individual canister, flip a switch on each one of those. It's like everything has a purpose and a reason, no matter how minute the detail is. I mean, even just from the opening shot with the model like you're talking about, the opening shot with space and everything, when it gets to the point where it's the Nostromo's flight deck, there's rips in the seat, there's duct tape covering up certain parts of it, this ship is worn, it's used, there's so many juicy little details. It's got a life of its own. Even beyond the characters, even beyond the plot. Just the freaking Nostromo has so much personality.
Well, it's got Mother.
It does have Mother. And Mother's very nice.
The AI that's not really an AI that controls the ship.
What the acronym stands
is never
for.
talked to or about.
We find out.
I don't know, but I'm sad that we went down our darkest timeline and we don't have AI that actually sounds like chugga 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 as it talks to us.
So, Mother is an abbreviation of MUTHUR, which is the model of the MUTHUR 6000 was the name of the machine.
Wow.
Life of its own.
It was a 2.1 terabyte AI.
Tawny.
2.1 terabytes in 1979? Holy crap.
Just imagine what you could do with that much space.
So it was MU stood for mainframe unit, terabyte hard drive, TH.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like there's real, that was just what they gave it. And then they actually, in the movie, when Ripley takes the chip out of that, socket, there's a nameplate that has MUTHUR on it. Looking at a photo.
Well, what does the
I
UR
don't know.
stand for? Dan, you told us
I don't
what everything
know.
else stood
I can't
for.
seem to find a breakdown of what
User remediator, user rectifier.
Yeah.
See if there's anything in the Alien Anthology wiki.
They also spent. I mean, the design of the interface with Mother, it just makes me go, what? Now, in 1979, would I have been like that? Probably not. I probably would. Look at all those flashing lights. Think of all the things it's doing because of all the flashing lights on the ceiling. God, there's lights flashing on the ceiling. The technology involved with this. Oh, my God.
So, Joe, you're telling me that if the data center at work looked like Mother, you wouldn't want to do networking for it anymore?
I would just walk out because I'd be like, this is garbage. We're wasting so much energy on LEDs.
LEDs are really
Those
cheap.
weren't LEDs, though.
We're wasting more money on computation
There's
power.
There's a lot of filaments in that
But they're
screen.
just white LEDs. You got to get, RGB LEDs and then sync them up to your speakers, and now the data center is thumping.
Speaking of lights and Mother in general, just adding to my point about the amount of detail in this movie, little things. Did you guys notice that one light that doesn't work in the doorway of Mother? Both the times that Dallas goes in there and Ripley go in there. There's that one off to the left that doesn't light up. It blinks once, but it never comes on. There's just so many little things that are broken on the ship, so many different things that are in different states. It's just, it's my favorite part of the movie.
The fact that none of the air hatches in the air vents actually close.
Yes, they always leave that little tiny opening, which in the video game is terrifying because you can see things go move past it, but whole nother story.
I'll certainly agree. It is a very pretty, very well set design. Somebody really enjoyed going into work every day to put together that set.
Oh my god, there's so many little gushing things. It's like there's personality every time you turn a corner. Even when you get to the later scene in Parker's bunk, he's just got all the nudes pasted up and cut out of magazines all over his bunk and things like that. The characters shine through this film simply because of how much personality the Nostromo has within the walls.
And a lot of it's iconic now.
A lot of it is.
like the sleepy room where it starts. I mean, when the lights come on and the little hoods come up. To me, that's more iconic than when it happens in Aliens.
Agreed.
Yeah. It's a stark contrast to the jockey ship.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, like,
unless you watch Prometheus, which is...
we don't talk about that.
Let's not talk about
so the jockey ship is that
yes.
crashed one, correct?
Yes.
So now this is the problem with this movie is because it's, like you said, 41 years old and it's a series. So now there's way more information about what is going on.
I know, which is depressing because that's one of the strong points of this movie that always kept me just craving more without having answers, because there's so many things you want to know more about in this film constantly at every turn. What the hell are half those pieces of equipment sitting down in the lower decks of the ship? Like, there's like bulldozer looking things, there's like all kinds of different excavation
There's a room with a giant
machines.
claw hanging from
I
the
know.
ceiling?
No, that wasn't a claw. That was one of the landing gear.
Was it a landing gear? Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah, I'll get to that later, because it took me, I don't know how many viewings of this throughout my lifetime to finally understand that scene.
The thing that I thought was crazy about the Nostromo was the water.
Why was everything so
That's
wet?
what I was going to get to. That's what I was going to get to. I finally got an explanation for that, because that scene always confused me, because the quote, rain coming down all over Brett as he is standing in that room, if you look closer, that is the landing gear room. So that has all the atmospheric pressure and everything else that was built up on that landing gear claw when it was down on the planet. That's after they go back into space. So that's all the condensation falling off of the equipment from being outside. So he's letting all that space water pour all over him, essentially.
So what you're saying, it was better off that the alien got him and he didn't die of, like, infections?
Of moon dust cancer, yeah.
Huh.
That, and it's just like, wouldn't that water corrode the metal of the ship? What is the ship made out of now? I need to know, because that much water in a spaceship, I'm like, come on, this has got to do damage. But I could be just not knowledgeable enough to know what the Nostromo is made out of, that it's non-corrosive or something like that.
No, the Nostromo has proven already that it has the two best repairmen in the galaxy.
They're just sorely underpaid, which is when nothing gets fixed.
Yes.
I watched this, and I don't have a lot of notes, and I have very little in the way of things that took me out of the movie, and there's only one. I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. There wasn't a part of this movie that I didn't like. There were just a couple of things that kind of are nitpicky, and is only because of the technology that they had available to them 40 years ago.
I hear ya. I don't know if I want to step on your toes.
Okay, so are we still being in the good,
I would be
positive
good.
light of things, or are we crossing that threshold?
The only other few notes that I have are that the sci-fi movies nowadays rarely take atmospheric re-entry into account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, sure.
This movie
it's always this glossy spaceship that comes in and out and lands without issues.
The only thing that I did enjoy what you are saying. I just didn't like the fact that they didn't have the ability to film the model of the ship better, to have it land better than just vertically.
Yeah.
Because once they get through the atmosphere, then it's just they're dropping straight down. But again, I think that falls under technology.
It falls under technology of the time, and if you look at that ship, there is no way it could fly in atmosphere. It's a brick.
There's no way the ship in Aliens could fly in atmosphere either, but it does.
Science.
Because
sci-fi.
And I think
they
you
must
guys
have figured it out because it was working.
And you guys, I hate to beat on this door with Prometheus, but I think Prometheus is a good contrast to that in the way that ship lands on the planet.
How dare you?
I know.
Now you're making me think about going back to watch how it lands.
Don't. That movie is visual eye candy and nothing else. Nothing else.
But it has nothing to do with the Alien series.
Yes, it does, unfortunately. Because the original explanation for the jockey that was just kind of off to the side, speculation-wise, all these years was basically that whatever that alien was found a planet with these eggs, didn't know what they were, filled up his hold bay with them. One of them probably got on and impregnated him with an alien. He woke up, didn't know what was happening, got in his chair and flew off, only for his chest to burst and crash land on that planet.
But he still has a face hugger on him.
Yeah, so either way, I mean, it's more interesting to come up with ways of why it happened versus the overly philosophical BS that we got from Prometheus. So I like to just cut that out and pretend it doesn't exist, even though you can't do that. I try. Because I was obsessed with this film for years, trying to it always nagged at me, what is that giant alien in that chair? Where did it come from? What's that story? And then here I am as an adult saying, why'd you ask that, you dumbass?
Yeah. I mean, it does good for the viewer because, yeah, you do ask those questions, but I love the crew because they check it out and they're like, hey, look at his bones broke. Cool. Something killed him from the inside. You know, they're not shocked by seeing a 10-foot tall humanoid. To them, it's just another thing.
Totally desensitized to the fact that they were in serious danger.
It also plays to the fact that there's a much bigger universe than what the movie is showing us, because to me, they've obviously encountered something like that before.
And that's what drives me nuts about being here in the post-2000s and having Ridley Scott been basically given the reins to just make as many bullshit alien movies on top of this as he wants, so... I'm glad they slowed the roll down after Alien Covenant, but it's getting to the point, instead of introducing new, fresh ideas and making you ask more questions, it's checking things off a checklist that either nobody did ask for or that people have been asking, so that way everything is a neat little tiny bow packaged on top of it. And that's, I repeatedly say that in every one of these recordings, is I like movies that make you think and make your imagination run wild with why the thing is the way it is, versus beating you over the head and filling in all the gaps for you. That just... it diminishes the experience for me. And that's why I prefer movies from the 80s and 90s, because they did that constantly. They just left so many things unanswered, so that way you, as the viewer, you let your imagination run wild and make you excited for the next adventure you got to go on. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, here's the deal. People were much more interested back in the day watching what they were going to watch.
Versus waiting
They
to get on
didn't
their
have their phones.
Yeah.
They didn't have their phones or other things distracting them at all times. And so you had people more involved in the movie. So you had to have more things to keep them interested and engaged in the movie. So
yeah,
you add these questions not answered, so they keep on thinking about, well, what, why, versus, oh, I'm confused, phone time. And people do it not even consciously these days.
Yeah, it's sad for me, because it makes me realize how much things have changed, and some things for better, some things for worse. But yeah, that feeling of leaving a movie and then thinking about it for 10 plus years, wondering about all the little nuances, yeah, it's gone.
My favorite example when I'm trying to explain that to people is National Treasure movies. I don't know if I brought it up here yet.
I think you have, but still go ahead.
I've told you guys in real life, at least about this, but I like this. In the first National Treasure and the second National Treasure, they both have the same basic ending. Nicolas Cage walks into a very, very dark room. He's holding a torch, and he can't see anything. He looks to the trench beside him. In the first movie, he puts his torch to this thing, to the trench, and then flames go shooting down the trench, and then light up the entire room, burning all the stuff in the trench, and that. In the second movie, he takes his fingers, he puts it in the trench, and smells it, and he says, out loud, "It's oil." And then he sets it on fire, which was completely unnecessary. You don't really need to put that in there. It's explaining away everything.
Well,
because
it's like I said about the 2016 Ghostbusters to you guys. They explained every joke after it happened, and it's the same thing like you're saying with this. It's you got to get to the point where the audience knows everything that's happening, so they feel satisfied leaving the theater, because there's nothing that they have to scratch their heads about. There's nothing they're puzzled about, and they're full. Nothing
better than having to leaving the movie and only having to watch it once because you got all the jokes the first time.
That makes me sad to hear it put that way.
Yep.
And with this movie...
oh, God, you can keep on watching it.
The audience that stayed.
Hey, okay, she didn't die from the alien.
The audience that stayed had questions. The audience that left the theater had no questions and did not want to see another one.
Let me say, after 12 years, I came back to this movie remembering watching a video of why Prometheus sucks and them saying they both have... the movie we're talking about and Prometheus both have android counterparts, and I remembered that in the back of my head, but I had completely forgotten which person was the android.
In this movie or in
so
Prometheus?
I sat there in this movie.
Oh, okay.
I haven't actually seen Prometheus, but I know it's Fassbender. Sorry,
yeah, he's honestly probably the highlight of that movie, and it's not too much of a
sure
spoiler.
He is.
They pretty much beat it over the head right away that he's an android and that we send androids off on this, whereas this was just left field out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
He just starts malfunctioning and leaking milk and just spinning around all over the walls.
That's because he got bashed with a hydrant or something heavy. He's like, that's That's what happens when he takes damage, apparently.
He was breaking down before
Yeah, it was a scene inside of Mother. He had, like, milk leaking down his forehead. And then he started to come after Ripley. Because he locked the door and everything else.
Earlier than that, he was talking about being cold.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh,
and
interesting.
he was jogging in place to warm up.
That was... I was trying to figure out why they had him run in place. When I remembered that he's the android, I was like, wait, he was running in place. Like, I figured that was like some sort of like nervous energy. He was like, oh, we're landing on a planet. We're going to start doing this thing. It's and getting all nervous and start running in places. Apparently he's malfunctioning. That really makes sense.
And that falls within the universe of the movie because the Nostromo is in total disrepair.
Yep.
Which maybe that means they weren't being paid enough.
But the question then becomes, how did they know that he was, like, how did they not know he was a robot? Why was that a surprise?
What was it? Dallas said that the usual guy for the science team was swapped out last minute and replaced by him. So Wayland Yutani knew something along these lines. They must have gotten the communication or something. So when they were coming back, they knew all about this, and they had the directors going through Ash and everything. That's why he knew about them before anyone else.
That was one of my questions. How did Wayland Yutani know that the creature was out there?
Somehow they knew, and they swapped out Ash, got him on board, and it was all after that, all history.
In hindsight, my only guess is that they said they had a distress beacon that they saw. Now, whether or not that was a real distress beacon is
it wasn't a distress
debate.
beacon. Ripley deciphered that it was a warning.
Which, again, we have an explanation for thanks to frickin' Prometheus, but...
So, am I thinking... Hold on, because I don't really remember Prometheus that well. Was that a prequel?
Yes, it was a full-on prequel explaining literally everything, beating you over the head, telling you every answer to everything as to why this started. And versus having it just be some horrifying, existing alien organism out in space that just happened to be something they stumbled across, Prometheus really kind of turns it down more so the route of a manufactured bioweapon.
Technically, because of that movie, we're all basically kind of manufactured to a degree.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
Every time somebody brings up Prometheus,
that's for a little bit later.
It feels literally like we're all like trying to get away from Prometheus in the same way as the spaceship rolling directly behind us, and none of us can get out of the way. We just keep running in a straight line, ready to be crushed. We all know we shouldn't be talking about Prometheus, but we just can't help but to move out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, everyone was also very upset about the scientists just poking and prodding the eggs in Prometheus, and it's like, why would they be so stupid to do that? But then they're doing that in this movie,
There's a difference, though. There's a difference. Okay, so... Damn it, Prometheus. Okay, so...
No, let's not. We have to
There's
focus.
a difference.
We cannot...
I have to say this one piece. This one piece. This movie, none of these characters know anything about the situation they're in. It's entirely new and fresh to them. They have no training based off of microorganisms or anything else science-related. They are literally space truckers. Yep. The one science officer they have on the ship is there for his own nefarious purposes and doesn't have the crew's interests in mind. This entity gets introduced to the ship, and they don't know anything about it or how to deal with it. One by one, they fall apart due to their flaws. It makes sense. Prometheus. All of the characters in that movie have strong character traits right off the bat. They beat you over the head and tell you this is what this character believes in, this is what this character feels, and they let you know that that's who they are. The second they get on that planet, they all start shedding their traits one by one and doing things that are way outside of what they just told you that character does or believes, just for the sake of progressing the plot and getting them, oh no, they got killed, one by one.
Mr. Rothi, you're mistaken that everyone likes to put up a facade and they like to put up their false things, but when the rubber meets the road, when the aliens breathe acid breath on your necks, you're gonna fall apart. You're gonna shed that skin.
But that was before...
You show your true colors.
But that was before any of that. That'd be like Indiana Jones declaring, I hate snakes, I'm terrified of them, and then falling into a pit of snakes and just picking them up and whipping them at walls. And that was what happened in Prometheus, and that's why so many people hate the characters in Prometheus, because it makes no sense. They were just there to progress the deaths. That's it. This movie, it makes sense because they're frickin' space truckers. They don't deal with alien organisms or any kind of threat outside of maybe machinery breakdown or atmospheric issues. They don't deal with anything out of the ordinary. This completely pits them against something they've never seen or dealt with before.
Call me silly, but I'm no scientist.
Oh, silly Joe.
But if I see a space egg with something moving inside of it, I'm not getting anywhere near that thing.
But you're only not getting near that thing because of this movie.
I mean, yes, all comments aside about Kane's mistake.
No.
Kane was just curious.
That's freaking creepy.
Kane just saw the egg.
don't know what's out there.
I thought the egg was scary too when he falls down and kicks that one and then he gets back up, but when he shines his light through the egg, that's probably when I would be curious too. I wouldn't put my head directly over the damn egg after it opened up. I'd run for my life, but...
At this point, it's good to have yourself an android that you can have poke and prod these things that you have no idea, but you know it's some sort of organic life. You can have them poke and prod and be like, oh, well, the android died. That's all right. We'll just get a new one.
Oh, you mean instead of having the one thing that wouldn't have been affected by this whole scene stay on board the ship to watch them die?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Which
sense.
I'm pretty sure happened on purpose.
Yeah.
That's all right. He's just a science officer. He doesn't get to go explore. Do you think that they put, like, you said that they had swapped him out last second to put him on that one.
That's what Dell said, yeah.
Did they put him on there because they knew that they were going to come across this distress call and they wanted to send people down?
That's what it sounds like, at least. It sounds like Weyland-Yutani had some sort of information prior to this and wanted to ensure that they investigated and brought the life form back at all costs. That's at least what it sounds like. It's way too coincidental that literally right before the ship takes off, they put a sleeper agent on board the ship to basically say screw the entire crew and only focus on bringing back the one thing that's completely out of the normal flight path for them. I mean, it's just it all adds up based off of that one quote that they swapped him out last minute. But I'm trying to find the exact quote right now.
Well, that in Aliens commits to that line of thought as well, because that dude that no one likes in that movie says straight up that they want it and they're bringing it back, and Ripley's their gal to help them because she's dealt with them and survived.
I honestly never remember his name. I only know him as Paul Reiser, and every time anything he's in with, when my wife watches anything with Paul Reiser, I shout, "Goddamn Paul Reiser! He killed how many Marines?" And she gets so pissed off, so pissed off. I just get rationally mad when I see his smug ass face, knowing what he was responsible for.
You need to connect that, and you'd be like, Paul Reiser, I'm mad about you.
Oh no. Oh no. Joe.
Yes.
I'm going to be on the Helen hunt for the perfect sayings to tell her next time. I need to get my puns in order.
Are you still looking for the line?
It's not... I'm trying to find it. While I'm looking for that, I'm just going to say... another thing that I thoroughly enjoyed was this is one of the few films I can think of where finally the arbitrary countdown clock goes wrong.
Does it go
Every
wrong?
movie, it's always last second. It's she tries to shut off the self-destruct before the failsafe is passed, and she misses it by what, like 10, 15 seconds? This is one of the few movies I can think of where the character doesn't miraculously stop the clock.
I feel like that the stop the clock failed by design.
I don't know, because she wanted to blow up when she was anticipating leaving with everybody. But in the theatrical cut, without finding the nest, I think she was trying to shut the clock off because she didn't know what happened to Parker and Lambert.
Well, she finds...
Does she beforehand? I can't remember the order of things.
So she finds them, and as she's going back, she sees the alien, then she runs back up to the deck to try and stop the countdown.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. For once, it wasn't movie magic where a character stops a clock at the last minute. She set it to self-destruct. She couldn't stop the self-destruct. And then she had to really book ass to get off the ship before it blew up.
She had 20 seconds. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. I think this movie did a great job of putting a cattle prod against your ass in terms of making you feel the tension the characters are going through constantly. I mean, there wasn't a moment in the movie, really, after the creature was introduced where it didn't feel like, dear God, keep moving, get out of there.
It did once she picked up Jonesy.
Oh, yes, Jonesy.
There was a part in this movie, the first time I watched it, this time I watched it, not so much, but the first time I watched it, when, what's his name is crawling through the air ducts the first time.
Dallas?
He's got the torch. Yeah, Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
She says, "Oh, I see him in the thing. I see another thing in there with you." And he turns, and the alien's right there, and the alien stretches his arms out,
And does jazz hands?
Jazz hands. That took
He's
me.
gonna hug.
I mean, I can understand where like that's kind of, you know, you're going to be restrained. You're going to get the alien mouth in your mouth type thing. However, the jazz hands coming from there really kind of took me out of the movie.
I agree.
The first time I watched it.
I agree.
For a little bit. And it definitely brought a certain amount of levity from where I was like super creeped out and a little on edge the entire movie up until that point, and maybe it was just my breaking point.
I feel like that was definitely a thing at the time. Like, I feel like that was what you'd expect from a scare at the time, whereas nowadays, if this would have been, let's say, 2-3 years ago, it would have been, it jumps at the screen. So
yeah, it would definitely been a much more jazz hands.
Yeah.
The most recent one where he comes up from the water and starts chasing at him, which also remind me of this movie, not the most recent one. Not It Chapter 2, where he comes out of the water and jazz hands towards, I don't remember his name, Georgie's brother, and then he runs away. Yeah, but that one was a little bit more scary because it was actually like coming at you at the camera.
It makes me wonder
versus that one was just there.
This scene was like they did a bunch of takes, and that was the best one that they could get.
There's a really good chance.
All right, I did manage to find the quote, guys. It was brutal, but I found it. All right. So take this in, if you will. Ripley.
Okay.
Ripley. Did you ever ship out with Ash before? Dallas. I went out 5 times with another science officer, but they replaced him 2 days before we left Thetis with Ash. Ripley. I don't trust him. Dallas. I don't trust anybody. He worked with another science officer for 5 different missions. And then they replaced him 2 days before they left.
And they're on these missions long enough where they need to go into, what, a cryosleep?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, how long are these missions they're going on? They got to be pretty long.
Years.
Yeah. And
like, imagine...
Exactly. And then they just swap it out.
Imagine leaving Earth in 1950 and coming back in 2020. Some things have changed.
Yeah.
Some things have changed and then changed back. And
some things never actually
other
changed.
things are just insane.
Well, that's kind of what happens between Alien and Aliens, is that Ripley's daughter has died of old age because she was just floating out in space for so
right.
long.
That's one of the best parts of that film. I love that little bit of backstory.
Well, don't do that. We have other films to watch.
I know. Aliens is so good.
Keep that thought for 2 weeks from now.
I don't know if we're doing Aliens again or if we're doing a different series.
Probably not Aliens, because Lee and I covered
Okay,
it
I
already.
was scared
that checks.
I was scared we were about to venture down the dark path in the woods that leads to Alien Resurrection, and I'd rather not go there. Let alone Alien 3's bad enough. It's like a broke down shithouse with like just a bunch of bodies out in front of it. I don't want to pass that in the woods alone, but Resurrection's like going to the whole bad part of the town.
We're talking about the other badness with this series. What about the badness in this movie, other than old technology?
Yes, we officially hit that threshold.
I actually like the old technology. It gives a movie a very specific feel.
Yes.
And whereas it's not necessarily realistic, it's also a sci-fi movie. And so it gives you that old school sci-fi feeling, and it still feels almost modern just because that's what it's been established to be.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool aesthetic, and it's one of the things that makes me love green screen, even though actually doing green screen stuff sucks.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I completely agree with that. It's outdated, yes, but it fits the Alien aesthetic so damn well that it is actually it's another character from the series. You can't go into an Alien movie without this.
You can't have Alien without the Nostromo.
And you can't have an Alien movie without chunky screens, green screens, and old, just it fits. It just fits that they're retrofitting these machines with such crappy technology, or they have all this extra technology just laying around from the past that they're just cramming into this crap and sending it out to fly. They don't give a shit. They're just trying to get bodies out in space grabbing crap as fast as they can to bring back for profit. They do not care if it looks nice. They do not care if it's functional. That's so nice.
As stated, this thing has been out in the space for long enough to need to be in cryosleep.
They also make a reference to the ship being in dry dock, and they don't want to do that. My only bad note is the transition of headless Ash between being a mannequin and being Ian Holm.
Oh, right.
It's a very noticeable cut.
Yep.
But I forgive the cut because the scene's so well done.
I forgive the cut because how would you do that 40 years ago?
I know, it's hard to say anything negative about it simply because it's so well done for being as old as it is. The cut is very abrupt.
I thought it was weird that they had the actor pick up the head and keep on trying to put it in place so it sticks, instead of having the actor just pick up the head
And hold it.
and then cut to his head, have their hand on the head and pull off the head. So it's a much smoother cut where he can just like, oh, hey, look, I'm back alive. It's weird to me that they decided to go with the keep on trying to pick up the head and make it sit in place so we can make it look like it's supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
It was a weird choice. However, I still love the scene. It's janky in a fun sort of way.
Yeah, and I would say after the punch, when they're pissed off and they punch it, that smirk is awful when it gets punched. But then the scene where they look back and Parker torches it, it looks fine. So I don't know. It's like the face looks stupid and it looks fake as hell after it gets punched or as it's getting punched. But then the clear shot of the table as they're leaving the room, it looks exactly like Ian Holm. I don't know. It's still a fake face at that point. It's not Ian Holm itself, but I don't know what the difference is between that close-up shot where he gets punched and then being torched, but I don't know. My one big gripe for this film is something that I've held on to since the very first time I saw it, and I use it a lot. I use it frequently. It's one of those quotes I always bring out just because it sounds so unnatural and so stupid. None of the crew knew what was going to happen when the scene with the chest burster happened. Ridley Scott wanted it to be a surprise so he could capture everybody's authentic shock and terror as it burst through Mr. John Hurt's chest.
That's crazy.
Everybody's shocked, everybody's scared, and Lambert gives out the worst reaction I've ever heard, and I use it so frequently because it sounds so dumb. It's that, oh God! Whatever the hell that was. But just the way she says it, it doesn't sound natural at all. It sounds so bizarre, and I just love it for that. It's so ridiculously strange amongst all the chaos happening in that scene.
And it definitely stuck in my head because I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's so shrill. For me, it's like the scenes The Matrix, not like this.
She reminds me a lot of Shelley from The Shining.
Yes, I would say Shelley from The Shining or Daniel LaRusso's mom from Karate Kid. She reminds me of those two characters immensely.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And for some reason, she looks like the pilot in Aliens to me a lot.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
same style haircut and everything. So that's confusing for young Joe watching movie back to back. Oh, that's right. You didn't see Alien. That's right.
That's why everyone gets it confused.
Just because of her.
They're using the same characters. What's up with that?
Cheap Hollywood.
It's nice that you brought that dead woman back, sir.
So there was something else. What was it? I was trying to think of it, and then Mr. Rothie brought up that.
Sorry.
I should write these. I should write this stuff down. This is 100% my fault.
It was hard for this movie. I'm going to admit, I sat down with a notepad and my phone out. Both were shoved off to the side within the opening credits. I didn't take notes the entire film just because it sucks me in like that. 2.5 hours feels like nothing when you watch this movie. It's like 2 and 15, 2 and 16, something like that.
With the director's cut, it is. The original theatrical cut is an hour and 57 minutes.
The director's cut's either shorter or the same length as the theatrical cut, but it adds the two scenes in. It just shuffles things around, I guess.
Yeah, let's not get confused. This is definitely a long movie. There's a lot of stuff that happens in it.
Yes.
You got your intro, really slow crawl to the Star Wars flyover to being inside the ship and showing you all the intricacies of the ship that they put into this thing. And then they get into the story, introduce the crew, all that fun stuff. We gotta land. They land on a planet. They come out, and now the meat of the movie that everyone expects happens, where you got them being chased around the ship by an alien. And then everyone's dead, and there's a whole nother section after that I forgot existed when I was watching this. So it did definitely feel like it kept on going.
This is going to sound kind of pompous, but I definitely group people I know into two categories. Those who love Alien, or like Alien even, and then those who say, oh, this movie's boring as hell, or oh, that's the boring Alien. Where's Aliens? There's very much two camps. I've known people who have said that Alien is a boring movie and they didn't like it because it was slow. And those are the kind of people who I think don't appreciate atmospheric horror, I guess.
A slow pace.
They're the same kind of people who... It does. But it's the same thing video games wise. It's the same thing. I love Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but I prefer Silent Hill because it's more so atmospheric terror, and it makes you feel like you don't even want to walk into the next room and open a door, just because you don't know what's going on all around you. Whereas Resident Evil, they put tools in your hands and they basically pump up the action and make you feel empowered to fight whatever monster it is. I mean, we're talking grenade launchers, rocket launchers, and crazy kung fu kicks and shit like that. Whereas Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite video games of all time. Protagonist, the first weapon you start off with, he pries a freaking 2x4 off of a construction site with a nail in it. And then you're sitting there fighting in the fog, swinging at something because he's never used a weapon before and he doesn't know what he's doing. That's the difference between these people for me. It's either people who like the flashy eye candy, or it's people who actually appreciate the soul-crushing despair feeling that comes from this thing on film, and you don't know why. It's just that well done. But they're the people who like boo scares, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, jump scares are... I mean, the jump scare that they have in this movie, they have a couple, but the one that they said is the one the one that they have is the one I already talked about with the jazz hands.
Oh, there's the second one. There's the thing falling, the box falling over in the medical bay when they're looking for the
there's more than one jump scare, but
yeah,
like the one where she finds the cat and it goes ah. Well, there's a bunch of jump scares.
Jonesy.
It definitely does more of a suspense buildup, which is my preferred type of horror flick. If you can build that atmosphere and get me engaged in your movie, and then you can throw in a jump scare every now and again, and I will jump at it because I'm already like on the edge of my seat. However, if you're just going for jump scares in a movie, you're not going to have my attention by that point.
There's a heartbeat in every scene.
There is.
You can hear a heart beating.
Oh, that's interesting.
In the background in almost every scene of this movie.
The sound design and the music in this movie is so much a part of everything happening that, again, it is the weirdest movie for me to talk about because the sound design's a character, the music's a character, the Nostromo, the ship itself is a freaking character. Everything is a character in this movie.
And they're all welcome.
Yeah, to go off of what Dan said, is it's not always a heartbeat, but there is a sound that's repetitive almost in every single scene, be it the actor's breathing that's amplified because it's making you feel like you're hearing your own breath when you're terrified of something you're running from. It has the klaxons, which, like, when the countdown's happening and stuff like that. There's just computer beeping that goes incessantly through scenes that does that, and the heartbeat. All of them. I noticed, I just was like, yeah, they are really trying to ratchet up your anxiety with the sound effects.
And they did a damn good job of it.
Yes, they did.
True. So now I'm going to leave a nice cut spot here, just in case. I know, Joe, you don't want us to talk about the current times because it's depressing and probably not relevant in a few years, but I think people remember it. Remember when 24 hours was enough time to actually quarantine someone and make you feel comfortable with them actually being in public?
Oh my god, the lack of quarantine in this movie drives me insane! Even to the point where, that thing that was on his face just fell off. Let's go all in by him and cheer him up by giving him hugs and saying, we're glad you're better. What the hell?
Yeah, we're glad you're better. You're back alive. Why don't you come eat dinner with us instead of like...
Ripley's the only sane person on the damn... it drives me crazy.
Now, to be fair, they're mostly minors, and their science is probably going to be geology, not necessarily medical. They're probably going to be one medical person that's going to be not necessarily scanning for this crazy amount of anomalies, but they did have scans, and they probably could have scanned him for whatever is inside his body.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there is that scene. They put him in the scanner and scan his body and do exactly what you just said they could have done. They're standing there watching the x-ray of his body. But actually, I take that back, because they did touch base on that again, actually. So, you have that scene. They put him in the x-ray machine, they're looking at him. Dallas asks, what's that thing down his throat? They don't make anything else of that. They don't make any other comments of that. There is the scene later on which shows shiesty-ass Ash looking through his
photos.
Microscope, and he's looking at the microscope, the photos, like Dan said, of what's going on inside of him, and you can very clearly see on the monitor that it's an embryo. When Ripley walks up, he mutters something and shuts off the monitors. So Ash knows what's going on,
and he's all about bringing everything back and screw the crew. So
yes,
I guess that does make sense.
Yes, so they had the ability to look. They did look. But Dallas, trusting his science officer, not knowing that he was a sleeper agent from Weyland-Yutani.
Even though he said, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Even though he said, I don't trust anybody, especially that guy they're talking about, he still just...
Yeah.
He still leaves it all in his hands. He's probably just like, oh, God damn it, I've had enough shit today. I had to walk around on this planet with this crappy atmosphere and bring all his ass back with a thing stuck to his face. You deal with it. He probably just wanted to go drink a cup of coffee, sit back down, and think about cryosleep.
Yeah.
So, does this... Well, we haven't even talked about the reboot section of this yet.
What? What reboot?
I was almost going to skip that portion. So, this... normally we talk about this film or whatever is going to be rebooted or that's in talks of being rebooted. This one has already been rebooted over, a decade ago?
Several times.
I don't really consider the Aliens versus Predator to be a reboot.
Oh, come on.
No.
That whole series.
Those are spin-off series based off the comics, whereas Prometheus was the first true prequel, per se, because that actually goes back and answers all the questions about Alien that they didn't answer and didn't need to, but they did. But that also spun it off and basically made it its own thing, I guess. Fans were more disappointed that it wasn't more of an Alien sequel. It had strands of Alien DNA, as Ridley Scott said, but it wasn't actually Alien. Whereas Alien Covenant was more Alien, but everybody hated Covenant because it was just essentially soulless. That movie... I can't remember the last time I threw a movie on excited to watch it and just let it drift into the background and play itself out. I don't ever do that. And that's what happened with that film. I honestly wish, because there were talks, in my opinion, it should have continued after 2 with the reboot plans that Fox was originally talking about, how many ever years ago it was. What is it, Neil Blomkamp? Is that the director who did District 9? Yes. He had ideas to basically do what's actually becoming kind of a process right now that works. You look at Halloween, the sequels, most of them sucked. They said, screw all the sequels, we're making a direct sequel to Halloween. Everybody loved it. It was great. There's been several other movies that have done that. They've basically rewritten things and said, you know what? The sequels were trash. We're going to forget about them. We're going to pretend they didn't exist. This is a sequel to the film everyone loved. And it's working by doing that because so many different directors, so many different creative differences throughout the years really do taint film franchises as they move on, especially through decades. And Neil Blomkamp said, I just want to forget that 3 and Resurrection happened and have it continue after Aliens because everybody loves Aliens. And he actually brought it back. He was going to bring all the main cast back, everything. And his film just kind of, it took off gigantically. Everybody was excited. Everybody was buzzing about it online. And then it just slowly faded away. Fox was bought by Disney eventually after it was said that that was probably never going to happen. The big thing that happened was they said it got swept under the rug because Ridley Scott had interest in making more Alien films. And until he was done with his Alien films, Neil Blomkamp's wouldn't happen. So because Ridley Scott all of a sudden was like, oh, I love Alien again, after I think it was decades where he said he didn't want to do sci-fi because I believe his quote was something along the lines of there's nothing left to do or there's nothing left to say with the sci-fi medium that hasn't already been said. All of a sudden he did Prometheus, got on this huge ass kick to do sci-fi again, and then wouldn't let it go. So we lost what could have potentially been an amazing jumpstart back on the franchise. And now we're just kind of sitting in this awkward phase because Disney owns it now. There's plans that they're bringing it back. There hasn't been anything concrete, but from the sounds of it, they're planning on doing another Star Wars and just pumping out Alien movie after Alien movie, but we'll see what happens, I guess. But I guess to Joe's point, Prometheus was really the first big reboot in a way. And then Alien Covenant, I don't know what the hell that was supposed to be. But
So I think a reboot that does at least this film justice, it was already mentioned, Alien Isolation.
yes, different medium, but hands down the greatest thing to happen to Aliens since Aliens. That is my standpoint, and I will die on that hill.
It is absolutely the best thing to happen to the series since
I
Aliens.
was
100%.
I was legitimately, that year that game came out was the same year that The Evil Within came out. Everybody was losing their crap over Evil Within because, oh, it's made by the guy who made Resident Evil. And I love Resident Evil, like I said. But I was more obsessed with this game because it had everything I'd come to expect. So I put the blinders on, didn't get that game. I feel like I was the only one playing this damn game when it came out. But for those who haven't played it, the AI for the alien, for the xenomorph, is so unbelievably, unpredictably scary, along with the fact that you can couple on additional pieces of technology. I played it on PlayStation 4 when it first came out, which allows you to use the PlayStation camera to detect sound. I remember playing the game, hiding in a ventilation shaft for the better part of a half hour, making baby steps. That is a game that is calculated in feet. You can move feet in a matter of a half hour or an hour and still feel like you're making progress. Your progress is tracked by how far you've gone down a hallway.
That sounds exhausting.
It's exhausting, but it is the most tense game I've ever played. And I just remember sitting there playing this game, quiet as a mouse, keys jingling in the door of my apartment at the time, my wife coming and saying, "Hey, how's your day?" And me just saying, "Shush, shush, 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 shush." Sure enough, you can hear the buckling of the AC vents. Alien plops down in front of me and guts my character that I had moved approximately 15-20 feet in the last half hour. That game...
Oh, lordy.
That game is every single experience you'd ever come to expect out of actually being able to take on a xenomorph on your own by yourself. And that's even before I get to the point that they had that exclusive DLC which lets you replay the Nostromo with the Nostromo cast.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yes. Seeing everybody in full HD, new voice lines, voice acted, just, oh my god, it was amazing. That game is the best thing.
It is a highly rated game.
This game had it all. It had the xenomorph. It had that feeling of dread and suspense because you can't kill the thing. You cannot. All you can do is hope to run away. It had all of the computers you come to expect. It had all the sounds, all of the constant humming, buzzing, heartbeats, the soundtrack, the additional lore because you play as Ripley's daughter and she's trying to find her mom. And this is just, everything about it is just so lush with details, so vibrant. You have the androids in there as well too, malfunctioning just like Ash. Like, there's so much to this game. I urge anybody who is even a slight fan of Alien to check it out. Even if you can't do horror games, have somebody else play it for you. Just...
There's plenty of it on YouTube.
That too. Go just watch it. It's insane how much they nailed with this thing. It is, a lot of movie games get made by companies that, you know, have a small hand on it, or you can tell that they care a little bit, but this is just gushing with so much love. You can tell that the team who made it really truly cared about what they were doing, and they were fans of the film franchise and wanted to do it right.
Does Alien, when we come back and watch it now, does it do all the things that it was designed to do when it first came out, or the first time you saw it when you were younger? Do you feel the same about it? For those of you who watched it when you were younger.
Turning off a biased eye, this for me, if you were to come up to me and say, "Andrew, what is your idea of a perfect movie?" You guys know how much I love Jurassic Park. You guys know how much I love Ghostbusters. I would, without hesitation, say Alien to me is the perfect film. I can't think of another movie that set my imagination on fire like this movie did. Made me question things the way this one did. Changed my outcome in terms of my interests and the things I come to expect out of horror like this movie did. And coming back to it all these years later, even after not watching it since, 2011, 2012, I think I said, it still feels like the first time I watched the movie every time I watch it. And it still feels fresh, interesting, and sucks me in. So
it feels like the first
It does.
time.
It does. So for me, it absolutely holds up, even in a sense of, had I not seen this movie, I would have still stumbled out of this thing just amazed.
I only watched it 12 years ago, but this is still an amazing movie this many years later.
The death scenes for Brett and chestburster scenes are scenes that will forever give me nightmares.
Sure.
I'm 31 years old. I'm glad that I did not watch this before going to bed.
Oh, I know. Just imagine. Imagine every tube-like thing in your bedroom. Anything that looks slightly slick and wet. Just like, what is that? Is it going to pop out at me?
Stop talking about my bedroom like that.
I'm sorry to blow the top off the fact that your bedroom's laden with eggs and slippery things.
So I'm assuming everyone thinks this film holds up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's just as fresh as it is now as it was when it released.
It was a shock to me when I saw that it came out in 79. I'm like, there's no way that this movie is 40 years old.
I know, it's ridiculous.
And Blade Runner has the same vibe. You don't know how it has aged so well
And its
compared to
reboot
everything
was
around
shit.
it. Well, that was us hugging each other's faces while trying to watch Alien. Rewound and rebooting.
Yeah.
If you could like, comment, subscribe, and do all those things that you can do on YouTube or whatever podcasting program you're using, and share these episodes with your friends, your enemies, or your alien lovers who also like 80s and 90s movies, and in this case 70s movies. It could help us get back on our feet again.
Who's that alien?
Well, that's not exactly. We are
on our feet.
We are on our feet again. I am aspirational saying we are on our feet again, but you can help us run. So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind and reboot Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
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 I'm excited.
I am too.
God, now, that's right. That's wrong. Now I need to rewrite this.
How many episodes?
Well, because I have to get back to the line that's sticking. It's like, come back in 2 weeks when we rewind and reboot again.
Oh, yes, the again.
Yes.
I'll figure it out. I'll recut it if I have to.
And then we can focus on rebooting Reboot.
Oh, right. Reboot. That was a thing.